Okay, so what I have here today is a video on these React Attack dinosaurs from Jurassic Park 3. Specifically, what they look like on the inside and how to get them open and service them. I didn't see anything on this on YouTube, which I looked and looked and I was hoping to find something, but I couldn't find anything on this circuit board or how to get them open. And I'll just explain basically, I guess, how to get them open. So these are toys from when my son was a kid, and my grandson really likes them. So several of them, he has about a dozen of them. Several of them just needed the battery part compartments cleaned, and so they make one noise when they get pressed on the side, which simulates a bite or something, and then make another noise when they attack. And my grandson really likes these things. So I got two that didn't come back to life. This T-Rex here and this Spinosaurus. Why would I fix it? Because he's like $50 used online and I can't tell if he actually works or not. They all say not tested. So when you look at his belly, there's a battery compartment. You open that up, you take that cover off, and there's 3 watch batteries in there. He's sonically welded together. So what I did was I just took a regular heat gun and I went over just his belly, just a few times back and forth to soften everything up. You don't want to do too much because you can actually melt the plastic. You just want to get it nice and soft. And I had his legs kind of in a position like this. And once I got him a little bit soft, I was able to pry the legs apart and it split like right here, just a little bit. And then I was able to kind of stick a screwdriver in between the battery case, this thing, and his side, and pop it over with a pocket screwdriver and then pop the seam the rest of the way up. And then I was able to get the battery compartment out just by spreading his legs like that. And I could get in there. I'll probably just epoxy them back together. But the main point of this video is like, what's wrong with this guy? So in my case, I put the batteries in, cleaned the battery. It had a little bit of corrosion in there, but I was able to clean that up with a little bit of this toilet bowl cleaner. This is what I use for electrical repairs at work, or I deal with a lot of trailers and stuff. And so this has citric acid in it, but sometimes they'll have like muriatic acid or hydrochloric acid. And I just put a little bit on a toothbrush or a Q-tip or something. I'll just rub it on the corrosion and it'll eat the corrosion right off. If it's wires, I just dip them in it and it'll just eat the corrosion off, and then I can solder on the wires as normal again. So I checked here and I had 4.7 volts across here with my multimeter set to ohms. So, you know, I knew I didn't have a problem with the battery anymore, which I was suspicious that I did not have a problem anyways. And see if I can actually see. I have to put my glasses back on so I can kind of get a little pointer here. And so this here and this here are the battery, power, and ground. Make sure I'm telling you the truth. I'll flip it over a little bit. Yeah, that's the battery, power, and ground. So I had my 4.7 volts there as well. Underneath that black dot is a circuit board, a custom chip, I should say. And that's the sound control chip. And then what you have, if you look at the other side, you have a couple of capacitors and resistors. The resistors tested good. The capacitors I didn't actually test, but they didn't look blown. Those red and blue wires go to the switches. So you have, focus, there we go. You have power on these two. They're kind of glued or soldered together. And that's the hot side. They'll have 4.7 volts on it. And when you push one of the buttons, the corresponding pad here will bring the voltage back here. So it'll go from an open circuit to a closed circuit. The easiest way to test it is just by taking the batteries back out and then putting one probe here and then the other probe on one of those, and then pressing the buttons to make sure it goes from an open circuit to a shorted circuit. And that way you know the switches work. And in this case, the switches work. So then I put my probes from here. Let me make sure I tell you right. to the side, on those two white wires, which are the speakers. So it was from here to here. I'll show you again. There to there. And I set my meter to hertz. You probably don't need to do this, but I set it to hertz, and then I pressed the button, and then for like 2 seconds I got a 15 kilohertz signal, which means that it was setting something to the speaker. So I took the batteries back out and I just measured across those two, and it was an open circuit. So the speaker was bad, and well, I found these little speakers, replacement speakers on Amazon. I'm going to solder it in and try it out and see if he roars like he's supposed to. First I'll take a break, and then I'll show you what the old speaker looked like when I got it out. Okay, so this is the speaker. I mean, it came out in pieces. I guess might as well just put most of the pieces together. It didn't even look like it could be a fully functional speaker. It was basically a piece of plastic, a magnet, a tiny little copper coil, and then this. And it came apart when I was, just popping them open, trying to pull that out of there. So I imagine it, it kind of almost looks like there was water intrusion in there, which is probably a good possibility since he used to play with these in the garden, my son did, and he would bury them. He was like 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old when he was playing with these. And now my grandson's 2, so these things are 22, somewhere around there, 22 years old. And this is the new one from Amazon. They're 20 millimeter speakers. Now I couldn't tell what the ohms or wattage rating on that one was. And this one is it's like an 8 ohm, 2 watt speaker. I wasn't sure, so we'll just give this one a shot because it was in stock on Amazon. I also cleaned off the pads with my desoldering iron and a little bit of no clean flux. So we'll put this new speaker in and see if it works. Okay, so I've got the speaker soldered in, got my mess cleaned up a little bit with some denatured alcohol. Actually it's not denatured alcohol, I just used 91% isopropyl alcohol. I put the batteries back in, and let's see. It does work now. Kind of seems a little, press the other button over here. So it's working. The other one's a little bit louder. So I imagine I probably didn't get the exact right speaker. Like I said, this is a 8 ohm. I don't know anything about speakers, but that's an 8 ohm, 2 watt speaker. I could have probably got a 4 ohm, 1 watt speaker or something, and maybe it would, I don't know. Shoot, I don't know anything about speakers. I just know it was 20 millimeters. And, well, that took care of it. So at least it'll growl and put it all back together and see what it looks like. I'm going to glue them back together with some 5-minute epoxy in the seams. Okay, here's the last part of it. So he's all fixed, glued back together with Gorilla Glue 5-minute epoxy. All this stuff I had laying around except for the speakers. So the speakers cost me like $10 on Amazon. So he growls like he's supposed to. If I push the bite button, I can do it with one hand. It's Jurassic Park logo. Yeah, so they are fixable, or they're diagnosable, I should say. This is not my meth table. This is a table my hot dog stuff name comes from when I used to make G.I. Joe and Transformer and Dungeons and Dragons stuff online. So these are my mold making chemicals that I used to use. I haven't used the table much lately except for modifying consoles. I did a HDMI mod on my PlayStation 2 and my Nintendo 64, my Dreamcast, so stuff like that. Mod chips in my Xboxes and Xbox 360s. So it's not a drug station. It's for molds. Here's some of the, what is this one? I think this is an Urukai, maybe. Yeah, I think that's an Urukai from the Lord of the Rings. I don't remember what this one is. I can't remember. I think it's a piece of Dwarven Forge stuff that I made for myself. Yeah, and this is another. I used to make a lot of Dungeons and Dragons terrain. I would buy a lot. I bought about $4,000 worth of Dwarven Forge, but even that's not enough. So I had to make a bunch of my own. Hope this video helped you. Thanks.